Good afternoon, dear friends. Welcome to CEC live lectures. I am Dr. Pavitra Bharadwaj. I work as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science in one of the constituent colleges of the University of Delhi. We have been taking up different topics in the field of computer science, and basically we are focusing on the curriculum which is taught in most of the Indian central universities at the undergraduate level for BA and BCom students. So, these lectures are basically focused for undergraduate students of the universities. Today we are going to start with a new series of lectures. Basically, in this series of lectures, we will be dealing with more practical subjects and more practical topics. In these series, we will be dealing with spreadsheets, we will be talking about Access database creation, we will be talking about other softwares which we have regularly been getting the feedback from the other users. So, today we will be talking about a very important application program and one of the most popular programs of computers, which is used in day-to-day activities of all business houses, even small institutions, large institutions, for purposes which are very trivial to very sophisticated purposes, and this software is the spreadsheet applications. So, we will be talking about what are spreadsheet applications in this lectures, and we will be talking about some general features of spreadsheet applications. And in particular, then we will be discussing about a specific spreadsheet application, that is Microsoft Excel. I would like to mention here that we are taking Microsoft Excel only because of the common usage of the software and because it is one of the most popular softwares which is used in commercial as well as academic world. So, we will be focusing on spreadsheets through Microsoft Excel. That does not actually mean that any other spreadsheet application is less important. It is, in fact, it is the same, basically it is the same. So, the architecture and the rules are basically the same, but the only thing would be some syntactical differences that you would see in other packages which are going to be varying with respect to Microsoft Excel. So, basically we are going to talk about Microsoft Excel in this series of lectures, but before we start with Excel, we will first talk about the general characteristics of spreadsheet applications. So, basically what is a spreadsheet application? A spreadsheet is a computer software. It is one of the commonly used computer application programs, and this is actually a grid structure which has rows and which has columns. So, basically it is a table where you can enter any kind of data. The data could be a number, or you could have text, or you could have a formula, you could have any kind of number or any kind of data into this row and column table, which is called as a spreadsheet. So, basically in this we can maintain and manipulate these numbers, and we will see that besides just keeping the data or keeping the records in a tabular format, there is much more that you can achieve using a spreadsheet application. So, basically what we are saying is that a spreadsheet is a large table which has multiple rows and columns and which can hold large amounts of data in it. So, basically if we talk about the inception or who started first the use of spreadsheets, so it may be dated back to 1978 when Dan Bricklin, a Harvard Business School student, he discovered, or he first started the use of electronic spreadsheets. Now, today in the market there are several spreadsheet applications which are available, as I just discussed. So, one of the most popular application program which is used is of course the Microsoft Excel. Then we had Lotus 123 which is now discontinued. Then we had the CalC software. CalC software, I would like to mention here, it is a part of the LibreOffice as well as the OpenOffice, and this is a free to use software. So, those users who would like to begin with a new spreadsheet application, they can very well download this freely over the internet. It is available and you can start using it on the go. So, and of course, then we have the Google Sheets etc., and some more programs which are relevant to Mac and the other operating systems. So, basically there are a number of application programs which offer spreadsheet functionality. Now, it is the user's choice and feasibility, whichever the user would like to use. So, basically a spreadsheet is a computerized grid which consists of rows and columns, and where a row and a column meet, that point is known as a cell. So, basically a cell is the unit in which data will be entered into the spreadsheet. So, a cell is, it can be changed into any size. So, you can increase the length and breadth and the height of the cell. You can format it just like the you format a Word document. In Excel you will see all sorts of formatting, font alignments, all sorts of formatting options are available in Excel just like you have Word, and they can be given a large number. You can provide them with colors, you can have borders, you can have all sorts of different play around with the cells, and formatting options are available. And basically whatever data you enter in a spreadsheet, you actually enter that data in a specific cell, and all the cells in a spreadsheet, they are named, they can be referred, they have a specific identity. So, we will talk about that, which is known as a cell reference, how you reference the cell. So, basically you can also, there are different formats in which data can be displayed within a cell, like you can display the data in a simple numeric format, you can display as in the decimal format, integer format, in a currency, date, percentage or text format. So, they can they can hold mathematical formula, you can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Then there are so many other types of formula also which you can put in a specific cell, like you have statistical formulae, you have logical formulae, you have database related, text related functions. So, all these functions can also very well be put into the cells. So, basically it can also be, you can use the data which is there in these cells to represent into graphs and charts, which is of course one of the very powerful features of a spreadsheet application. So, you can use, as I already said, you can use more complicated formulas also, you can make graphs and charts, you can format the data, you can change the format of the data within the cell, you can change the format of the cell. So, all sorts of flexibility has been provided to data once it has been put in a cell, right. So, what you see here in the diagram is a simple Excel window. You can see here the window can be seen as a normal any other Microsoft Office application. So, you can see there is a ribbon, and then you can see there is a title bar, and the basic area which you see is where you can see the grid is there, the rows and the columns. So, you can see here that the columns have been named as A, B, C, D and so forth, and you can see that there are rows 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on and so forth. So, so this is a basic Excel sheet which I am trying to show you. Now, one needs to understand that, like for example, in a Word, in Microsoft Word, we say that it is the Word file is generally referred to as a document, and a document can have several pages in it. Similarly, in Excel, a single file is known as a workbook, and a workbook can have multiple sheets in it. So, you can keep adding on sheets to your worksheet, to your workbook as per your requirement, but at any one given time you will work in a given specific sheet only. Just like in Word, at any given time you work on a single page, here also at any given time you work on a specific sheet, but then you can add on more sheets to your document, to your Word, to your workbook. So, if you see here, this is a rather labeled kind of picture. So, you can see on top is the title bar, where you see the title of the file is shown to you. Then under that you can see is the formatting toolbar. This toolbar appears very familiar to those who worked in Microsoft Word. So, all the formatting options are there related to font and all that. Of course, this is Excel 2010 that we are talking about. So, we are referring to Excel 2010 window here. The other versions may have slight differences, but then more or less the screen will look similar to what we are seeing here. Then you can see there is a status bar which provides the current status of the cursor, where exactly the cursor is, in which cell the cursor is. Then what you see, an important aspect is the formula bar. Just next to the status bar, you see there is a formula bar, and in this formula bar, whatever you type in the cell is visible in the formula bar. Then of course you have the columns and the rows. The columns are numbered as A, B, C, D, and as just I said, rows are numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4. So, in the status bar you will see like for example, you see A17. So, A17 means that currently the cursor is in the cell A17, and how does the cell A17 become? A17 means that you are at the A column and the 17th row. So, that will give you the cell A17. So, that is the current position of the cursor. Then down you can see that there are sheets which you can see here, sheet 1, sheet 2 and sheet 3, and if you want you can add more sheets by clicking onto the button at the right side. So, more sheets can be entered. When you right click at these sheet tabs, you get the option of renaming the sheet or deleting the sheet or doing other things with the sheet. So, you can make other changes to your workbook by clicking on any of these tabs. So, basically Excel 2010 is what we are going to discuss. So, this is again a program in Microsoft Office 2010, and we have already seen that it is a grid of rows and columns, and which we can use for basically calculation. So, Excel is a number crunching program, and it is mostly used for performing calculations which could be scientific calculations, statistical calculation or financial calculations like in the field of commerce and business. So, therefore, it is a computerized spreadsheet and it is called a worksheet. So, worksheet is basically a single document within a workbook. So, the workbook is a file and worksheet is a single unit within the workbook where your data will be stored. So, if we want to start with Excel, so in case of a Windows computer, you go to Start menu where you have Windows, and you go to All Programs where you find Microsoft Office, and in Microsoft Office you will find Microsoft Excel 2010. So, we can see that the Excel window, when you will see, it has all these bars. You have the title bar, you have the quick access toolbar, you have the ribbon, and then you have the main grid area where you actually see the rows and the columns. You see all the rows and the columns in the main grid area. Okay. So, this is an Excel program window which you can see, and here you can see all the components which we have already discussed just now, and besides this, here we can see some other components are also shown, like for instance you can see the scroll bar is here, and you can see you have the status bar is there, you have the zoom where you can increase or decrease the view of your worksheet. So, this is the zoom toolbar which you can see, and you can, of course, you can see the formula bar and the ribbon, etc., and you have the quick access toolbar which helps you to access a number of tools. So, here you can see in this window that in the toolbar you have an option where you have borders. So, you can enable or disable the borders. Then you also have a very important button here which is for merge and center. So, merge and center button is used. So, this is basically used for providing titles to the worksheet. So, whenever we want the worksheet to have a specific heading or a title, so we can select a few cells with the help of a mouse and we can click on merge and center. So, all those cells that have been selected, they will be merged into one cell, and then you can give in the heading at that part. Besides this, all these cells are very easily adjustable, as we have already discussed. You just have to click between the two cells, like between the A column and the B column, or on the line you just click at the heading, at the title, the column name, and you can adjust. You can see that the mouse pointer will change, and you can increase or decrease the breadth of the column. Same way you can increase or decrease the height of the rows. So, all these options are available for formatting or for making changes into the structure of your grid or into the structure of the cells. So, if you look at the worksheet, so it basically contains three, we have already discussed that it by default it contains three worksheets. So, the worksheet which is displayed in the work area is the active worksheet, and at any time there is only one active worksheet in a workbook. So, you basically you work on a specific work sheet in a given area. So, columns appear vertically and they are identified by letters, the rows they appear horizontally and are identified by numbers. So, a cell is an intersection where a row and a column meet. Basically, it is identified by a unique cell reference, just as I said A1, B2, C10. So, this means the C10 means that you are at the C column and the 10th row. So, wherever the C column will meet the 10th row, a cell called C10 will be formed, and here you can enter your data. So, basically this is the structure. So, this is a row, rows are represented by numbers and you can see on the side of the sheet, and then you have the column and you have the cell. So, you can see here when the cursor is in the cell B2, at the status bar up you can see B2 is written. So, that shows the position of the current cursor in your worksheet. So, if we look at the other parts of this, so basically you type your data into the cell which is called as the active cell, and the name box or the status box will show you the cell reference of the active cell. Active cell means where you are currently working on or where your cursor is currently placed. That cell is known as the active cell of your worksheet. So, the formula bar, it displays the formula when a worksheet cell contains a calculated value. A formula is an equation that calculates a new value from the values which are currently in a worksheet. So, in the formula bar you will see whatever is the content of the cell, either you will see that. But in case your cell contains a formula, for example, your cell contains a formula A1 plus B2. So, the cell will show the calculated value, but the formula bar will still show the formula. So, when you click on the cell, in the cell you see the value, the value which is obtained after calculation, but whatever formula has been used to calculate that value, that formula will be visible to you in your formula bar. So, formula bar is very important, because if you want to make any changes to your formula, you just click on the cell, you go to the formula bar and you can make changes, or you click on the cell and you press F4 and then you can make changes. So, formula bar gives a very good a live kind of view of the formulas which are being utilized or which are being used in your worksheet. So, of course, these are very basic steps, but just a quick go through. If you want to open a new worksheet, we've already seen what the steps are. You go to file and you go to start, all programs of Office, Excel, and you open the new program. If you want to open an existing workbook which you were working on, then of course you have to use the same. You open the Excel and you go and open the new file, open, and in open you can browse in the computer and you can open your existing workbook on which you have been working previously. So, you just click on the file tab and you can just browse, navigate through the system, and the open dialog box will open the new worksheet for you. Of course, saving a worksheet is important. Now, when you talk about save, there are two commands which you see there. One is the save command and the second is the save as command. So, save command will save an existing worksheet. So, whatever changes you have done, you have made to the workbook, they will be changed with the save command. When you are using save as command, then it allows you to give a new name or a new location or both to your worksheet. So, remember that first time whenever you click on save, it is actually save as, because it will ask you, the dialog box which opens is a save as dialog box, because it asks the user for a name for the file and a location for the file. So, it is always a save as dialog box, but after that when you want to just keep saving the changes that you are making to the worksheet, you only do the save command, you only take up the save command. So, what you do is only, either in case of Windows you will do Control S and you can save your worksheet. But if you want to create another copy of the same worksheet elsewhere, then what you do is, the command that you use is a save as command. So, the save as command will make another copy of your worksheet at a location which you specify, and maybe with a name that the user is going to specify. So, now what happens is that, okay, you are at a specific cell in your worksheet. Now, if you want to move to another cell in the worksheet, so it's simple enough, you just move up and down with the arrow keys, or you can also go to a specific cell by clicking on the mouse. So, you just click on the mouse and you make the cell active, or you navigate into your worksheet using the up, down, left, right arrow keys. So, that is quite simple. Okay. So, you can display different parts of the worksheet by using the mouse to drag or scroll down in the scroll bar. So, we know that a worksheet is a huge file, so only parts of it can be seen. So, you can just simply use the scroll bars, both horizontal and the vertical scroll bars, to move or to navigate through your worksheet. So, you can also move your active cell to different parts of the worksheet using the keyboard or the go to command. So, basically go to command is not used much. So, you simply use the arrow keys on the keyboard, or by going to the status bar, and there you just type the name of the cell where you want to go, and you will directly be taken to that specific cell, and that cell will become your active cell for that matter. So, here what you see is how you can navigate through the worksheet and how you can move the active cell in a worksheet. So, if you want to move just one column left and right, you just use the left and right arrow key, up and down use the up and down arrow key. So, if you want to go to the first cell of a given row, then the command that you use is the down arrow key. So, if you want to move the first cell of the row, you go to the home key. If you want to go to the first cell of the worksheet, that is A1, then you go to the control plus home key. So, that will take you to the first cell of the worksheet. If you want to go to the last cell of the column and row, then you will use the control and end key, and you will use up one window by page up key and down one window by page down key. So, this way it will help you scroll up and down, left and right. So, if you want to select a group of cells, so there are different ways of doing that, but a group of cells generally which are selected is known as a range. So, in Excel we use the term active cell for one cell, but if you are working on a group of cells, if you are calculating, for instance, you are calculating the sum of 10 numbers, and each of those numbers of course is in one cell. So, the 10 cells, say A1 to A10, will be referred to as a range of cells. So, how do you identify, or how do you refer to the range? You refer to the range by using a colon sign. So, if I am using, in this slide you can see I am writing A3 to C5. So, this means I am taking all these cells in view, from the cell A3 to the cell C5, all the cells will be my range. So, this is a number of cells which I am talking about in one go. So, a range of cells can be specified using a colon sign. Now, in adjacent range, all the cells, they touch each other from a rectangle. So, to select the adjacent cells, you simply click on the cell in one corner of the range, and you just drag the mouse pointer to the cell in the opposite, and you release the mouse button. So, all the cells will be selected. So, simply you just drag, using the drag operation of the mouse, you can select as many cells as you want. So, basically you can see here, like it is a continuous range of cells which I have selected. So, I just drag through the mouse and I can select this. But in case you want to select cells which are non-adjacent, like here you can see I have selected two groups of cells which are not adjacent to each other. So, in that case what you do is that you have to press the control key. So, you select one range or one cell or one range of cells that you want, and after that you press the control key, and then you choose the second range of cell, or you just simply use the mouse, the same way you drag the mouse and you do it. So, basically adjacent cells can be selected directly, non-adjacent cells can be selected by selecting one range and then pressing the control key and pressing and selecting the second range of cells. So, that is again quite simple to follow. Now, when you are entering the data into the cell, so a worksheet can contain different types of data. See, it can have text, it can have numbers, or it can have formula. So, text could be any combination of letters or numbers or special symbols. Numbers are basically values, numeric values, which can be integers or which can be decimal numbers, whole numbers or decimal numbers which have a point, and you can, otherwise they can be a date value, they can be a time value. Of course, currency is also considered as a part of number, and then you can have formula. So, one need to understand here that anything which is written in quotes is considered as a text, and anything, and numbers also, if you write a number in text, so that will be considered, number in quotes, that will also be considered as a text by the computer. So, and any number, if you wanted to use it for calculation, then it must never be put in quotes, because anything that you put in quotes, even if it is a numeric number, if it is a numeric symbol, then also it will be treated as text by the computer. So, formulas are, of course, we have equations that calculate a value. So, we enter data into the active cells. You can enter any data, either a text data or a numeric data or a formula into your active cell. So, you can see here, you can edit, replace or clear data. So, you can see here whatever data is typed in the cell, that you can see in the formula bar. Similarly, if you will have a formula written in the cell, so the number will be seen here, but the formula will be seen in the formula bar, where fx is written, that is known as the formula bar. So, you can edit the cell data in the formula bar or directly in the cell. So, whatever contents are there, they will appear in the formula bar. So, you can directly go in the formula bar and you can edit the contents of the active cell, whatever they are. So, to replace the cell data, we select the cell type, type new data, press enter button on the formula bar or the enter key on the tab key, whatever you enter. So, you can simply change the data, and if you want to clear it, you just you can use the ribbon or the keyboard or the mouse to just simply delete the data from your active cell, whatever data is there. Then Excel also provides a very interesting feature for searching the data. Just like Word, you can search here also, and you can use search and replace option also. Here what you are seeing is a search and replace option. So, it locates the data wherever it is in the worksheet. And this is very important, because when you will have large amounts of data in a worksheet, so it becomes very easy to look for any specific data here, and you can also use it for replace. And you must be aware that in replace and find and replace option, you have specific other options also. You can specify special parameters also, like match whole word or match case, or it should be a complete word, etc. So that you have a perfect match, and then you can replace all the instances in one go, or you can replace them one after the other, depending on the choice of the user. So, basically replace command is an extension. So, you can just replace the data which is there in that command. So, in find and replace options, we have all these different options, like find what in this you specify what is to be found, the data which is to be located. Replace with means the data which will be inserted in place of the data which is searched. The format of the data is specified in the format command. Then within search, and there are other options also, match case, match entire cell contents. So, you have a large number of options, so that your search will be a very specific and a very result oriented search that you will get. Of course, you can zoom it. The default magnification of the workbook is 100%, but then you can always change this using the control on the status bar or on the name cell, near the name cell, up in the ribbon also. So, if you have a closer look, then you can increase the zoom. If you want a smaller look, and if you want to look at the entire sheet in one go, which is a big sheet, then you can of course choose a lower zoom, and you can look at the complete view at one go. Then of course, printing a worksheet is also very important, because most of the time the worksheets which are used in commercial and business applications, they are used for generation of reports also, and reports of course need to be printed. So, you can print a worksheet by clicking on the file tab on the ribbon, and then you click in the print navigation bar to display the print tab. Now, printing a worksheet is rather simple. Only a few things need to be understood, that you need to have the print settings set correctly, and you always need to preview your page before it is done, because sometimes you will see that when you give a default print command, the grid lines may not be shown, which in case of financial reports are important. So, for that you need to make a few changes in the page layout, and then of course you can see the row and column headings and the grid lines will be printed and the other options will be there. So, we have some important print settings which you will find. So, you can choose the page, you can choose the margins, you can choose whether header or footer is to appear or not, and of course then you have a large number of settings for sheet. So, in case of sheet settings, you can show whether you want to print the grid lines, whether you want to print the row and column headings, whether you want to print the cell borders, whether you want to print the table borders and other things. So, these are important settings which you will find under the print menu only in the file. So, you will find these in the page layout or in the page setup menu under the file option in the ribbon. So, if you want to, of course finally then you can once the work has been done, then you close the workbook by clicking on the file tab on the ribbon, and then you click close in the navigation bar, and the Excel remains open. So, to exit the worksheet completely, you use the exit command. So, there is a difference between close and exit. By using the close, the workbook will be closed, but Excel will keep running, Excel will be open. So, you can work on a different workbook, but if you choose the exit option, then in that case you absolutely come out of the application program, the Excel application program then completely shuts down. So, now we are going to talk about a very powerful feature in Microsoft Excel, that is formulae and functions. So, we need to understand that since Excel is a calculation based number crunching kind of problem, so number crunching kind of application program, so its basic strength lies in formula, and its strength lies in the use of extensive functions which are very powerful calculation tools. So, formulas are basically equations that perform calculations in your spreadsheet. So, formulas, they always begin with an equal to sign. So, whenever you enter an equal to sign into a cell, we are basically directing Excel that we need to get this value calculated. So, it is going to be a calculated value what we are talking about. So, here Excel functions are Excel defined formulas. So, they take data, you select and enter and then perform calculations on them and then return a specific value or a range of values. So, basically the difference between formula and function is that formula are user defined, but functions are Excel defined formulas. So, formulas may be created by using functions also. So, user can create a formula by using the Excel defined function and some other functions also, and you take the data, you select and you perform the calculation on them, and so these are like something like we have in a calculator. So, you just provide your data to the calculator, it performs the calculation and it gives you the return. So, in Excel there is a vast variety of functions, there are hundreds of functions which are available in different categories, and these are excellent tool for performing calculations on the go without the user having to know much detail of how the calculation has been done. So, they have all functions generally they have a common format which is known as the syntax of the function. So, all formulas, all functions, they are preceded by an equal to sign, then there is the name of the formula or the function, and it is followed by the input data in the form of in parenthesis. So, input can be provided in different ways. So, input can be provided directly in the form of numbers, or it can be provided in the form of specific cell references, or you can provide the input in the form of cell range. So, what I am trying to say is that if you want to use a formula like for example average, so in this case average can be calculated by writing simply by writing is equal to average and writing the numbers here 2, 3, 4, 5. So, it is going to calculate the average of these specific numbers. So, you will write this formula in any of the cells in the worksheet and it will give you the result. So, this is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is that you give the range of the cells, like the cells B1 to B8. So, you want to calculate the average of these 8 cells. So, you simply write is equal to average B1 to colon B8. So, B1 colon B8 means you are specifying a range B1 to B8, or you can specifically write the names of the cell, like you can see here B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, B7 and B8. So, you write the names. So, out of these 3 methods, the most preferred method is of providing the cells, and most preferred because it is of course the most convenient method of providing range of cells, that is using the range by the colon sign. And the least preferred method is by using the numbers, because generally the worksheets which are made, which are created, they have to be generalized worksheets. The word generalized means that the formula that you are using, they will not have specific values, but they will have cell references. So, that if your data in the cell changes, then also your computed value or your function or your formula will return the correct value only. So, therefore, for generalized worksheets, it is always preferred that cell references are used and never absolute numbers or absolute values are given. So, basically this is how functions are used. I will just quickly go back to it. The syntax of any function is the same. All functions are preceded by an equal to sign. Then you put the name of the function and in the parenthesis you put the cells. Also, one must understand that Excel is not case sensitive. So, you can write in uppercase or lowercase, makes no difference. So, it's one and the same. So, you can write all these cell references in by hand also, or by simply clicking and dragging. So, once you type the name of the cell, you open the parenthesis, you click on the cells where you want the range and you can close the parenthesis. So, you do not even have to type the range, the Excel will automatically pick up the range once you select that range with the help of your mouse button. So, now we were discussing about functions in Excel. So, here you can see under the formulas, in case of the menu bar, you can see under formulas, you can see functions are shown here, and a vast number of functions are available under different categories, like you can see mathematical, statistical and mathematical and trigonometrical, statistical functions, logical functions, text functions, date and time functions, database related functions, a whole lot of functions are there. And the other window which you can see here you can see there is a summation window, there is a summation sign. So, these are some quickly addable functions which are very commonly used functions, like sum, average, count functions. These are mathematical functions. So, you can directly use these functions from this quick access icon which is available in the toolbar right up just under the ribbon. So, these are commonly used functions which are used using these two options. You can always go to insert, and when you go to insert also you can insert the function. Also, when in case of Microsoft Excel 2010, whenever you will put equal to sign, the prompt will always show you a help right there, as in which function you want to use. When you choose the correct name of the function, and it will also show you the syntax of the function. When I am using the word syntax, I am basically referring to the grammar or to the rule according to which a specific function must be used in case of Excel. So, if there is a colon, there has to be a colon. If it is a comma, it has to be a comma. You cannot change the rule, or you cannot change the basic grammar of the language or of the tool. So, while writing functions, one must be very careful not to make any mistakes, make any syntactical mistakes. Also, the names of the functions are very specific because these are Excel defined. So, you must use the correct name. So, initially when you are trying to use this, you can always use the list of functions which are available here and refer to this list of functions, and later on you become acquainted and you get practice of it. So, then you can directly use the functions, and you also remember the particular syntax of the arguments which are given. Arguments are basically the parameters or the data input values which are provided in a function. So, now when you build a formula, so basically here you can see I have prepared a sample simple worksheet for you to see. So, in this worksheet you can see that we have roll number, name, and we have marks of 3 subjects, and we are just simply calculating the total. So, in order to calculate the total, I am writing the formula here, where I am writing is equal to sum, and in the parenthesis I am providing the range of cells. So, here my range of cells is C3 colon E3, because I want to add the cell data in the cell C3, D3 and E3, because I want to add these marks of these 3 subjects. So, I will just put sum C3, D3 and E3. So, this is going to provide me with the sum. Similarly, I will use, if I want to calculate the average marks, I can just write in another cell, I will write is equal to average parenthesis open C3 colon E3 parenthesis closed, and when I will press the enter key, it will show me the result. Enter key or tab key, it will show you the correct results. Now, the next thing is copying and pasting formulas and functions. So, basically this is for one single row, you can just type the formula, but say for instance, if you want to calculate the result or if you want to calculate the marks of 1000 students, then of course you do not have to copy and use copy control C control V or copy and paste method for the formula. What you just need to do is that you can quickly fill out the column in which the data is to be calculated using the drag option. So, basically what you do is that you click on the cell in which you have written a formula. On the left hand bottom side, you will see that when the mouse pointer comes, it changes to a black square, a filled black square. So, when you see this filled black square, you just keep your mouse there and you drag it down to whatever cells you want the value to be calculated. So, for example, if your active cell in which the value is calculated is F4 and you want the values from F4 to say F100 to be calculated. So, it is very simple. In one go, you just click on the cell F4, you bring the mouse to the bottom lower corner, you will see that a small square appears and you just simply drag the mouse until F100 cell. So, you will see automatically all the values will be calculated and the column will be filled. So, this is one very easy way in which formulas can be copied and pasted, or formulas or functions can be copied and pasted. So, it's very simple. You can, otherwise you can always do the click on the copy button and on the standard toolbar, go back. If it is a single cell, then you do it simply by copying, right clicking, copy and pasting it to the other cell. So, that is also quite simple. Otherwise, mostly the thing which is done is using the drag option which I just discussed, in which you just bring the mouse and just drag it to all the cells where you want the calculation to take place. So, here you can see I have just quickly shown you the same thing. So, here you can see towards the bottom left corner a small dialog box is shown. So, this is where you will place the mouse and you will drag it down to all the cells. So, you can see here I have simply copied the formula to the other row, to the second row of my data sheet. Now, there is another important thing to notice here, that in the first cell, in the first row, when I am writing the formula for total, it appears to be sum C3 to E3, right, because the columns, because the row is the third row. But when I will copy the formula down, automatically my formula changes to C4 to E4. So, you can see here that the reference of the cell, this C4, E4 is known as cell reference. When you copy the formula to the next row, automatically the cell reference will change. It will automatically change, you do not have to do anything, and it will only refer to the current row, right. So, this is one feature which is very advantageous, and but we will see in some other cases that it may also lead to some kind of problem. So, this kind of referencing where automatically the formula reference or the cell reference changes when you copy the formula to another cell is known as relative referencing. Relative means because the reference is related, it is in with reference to the position of the formula. So, wherever you place your formula, your cell reference will automatically be updated according to that. So, this type of reference is called cell reference, and copied formula, they have they have the cell references which are adjusted for target cells or the range of cells. So, we just discussed this thing that automatically the reference will change according to the place where your formula has been copied. So, this can this can lead to problem also that we are going to discuss, but of course, this referencing is known as relative referencing. So, relative referencing means where the formula changes according to the position of your the references change according to the position of your formula. Now, here if you see, this is a very interesting example. Now, here I have calculated, of course, I have calculated the sum, but at the side may I have also calculated in the, you can see in the lower sheet first, where you can see that I am trying to calculate the percentage where I am putting the grand total as 300. So, marks are calculated out of 300, and you can see that the number 300 has been placed in the ith column in the third row. Now, when I write in the first cell, I simply write the formula for calculating percentage, that is sum upon I3 into 100, that is just fine. So, now when I copy the formula into the next row, it becomes sum upon the, that is the cell which has the sum upon I4 into 100. Now, if you will see here, I have shown in pink color that the cell I4 does not have any data, and it is trying to refer, because I copied it. So, it is trying to refer to a cell which does not have any data. So, basically this reference, this automatic updation of the cell reference when the formula is copied and pasted is something which we do not desire here, because you can see in the in the window up there that it shows an error divide by 0. So, divide by 0 is coming because it is referring to a cell which does not have any data, and this has happened because of automatic updation of the cell reference when we copied and we pasted. So, this kind of a scenario is not acceptable when you want to read the data from a specific cell. So, even when the formula is copied, you do not want the reference to change. So, for this, the solution is that instead of relative referencing, what we will use is called as absolute referencing. So, in case of absolute reference, what you will see here is that we will put a dollar sign. So, dollar sign will enable it. So, instead of writing I3, I am going to I2, I am going to write $I $2. So, you can see up here I have written, now I have written that it will be, the formula for calculating percentage will be is equal to F3 upon I2 into 100. So, instead of I2, I will write $I $2. So, this $I $2 is known as an absolute reference. So, now when I will copy the cell, copy the function down in the next row, so this I2 will not change to I3, this will still remain $I $2. So, therefore, each time, even if I am copying the cell, I am dragging and I am copying the formula to another cell, the grand total will be picked up from the cell I2 only, that reference will not change. So, this kind of fixing the reference of the cell and not allowing it to change even when this formula is copied, this type of reference is known as absolute reference. So, relative reference is basically a cell reference that shifts when you copy to a new location on a worksheet, and a relative reference changes in relation to the change of the location. But if you copy a formula to another cell, this will change. So, the solution to this is an absolute reference, in which this is a cell reference that does not change when you copy the formula to a new location. And to create an absolute reference, what you need is that you need to preface the column and the row designations with a dollar sign. So, instead of I, you will write $I, instead of 2 you will write $2. So, basically I2 will become $I, $2. So, this kind of a referencing will be very commonly used in the worksheets that we will be doing in the near future. So, this you can see we are writing, instead of B5 we will write $B, $5. So, this will keep the referencing fixed instead of changing it. So, here you can see this is an absolute reference which has been used right here. Now, the third type of reference which is used is a mixed reference, where you have combined both relative as well as absolute references. So, you can effectively lock either the row or the column in a mixed reference. So, mixed reference will basically used you can write like $B5. So, it means you are fixing the column to B, but the row will change, or you write B $5. So, in that case you are allowing the column to change. So, B will change to B, C, D, but your row will remain constant, the row will not change. So, this type of referencing is known as a mixed reference. So, you can see here $B5, the row reference would shift, but the column would remain fixed. So, anywhere where you will put a dollar sign, it will fix it, and in case whether you put it in front of the row or whether you put it in front of the column. So, this is an example of. So, we can basically, when you are writing formulas and functions, we keep switching between absolute, relative and mixed referencing, so that it becomes easy for us to play around with it, and we can always toggle through the reference option depending on the case or depending on the specific need in a given scenario or in a given problem that we are trying to solve using the Excel scenario. So, basically today we have discussed about the basic features of Excel. This was an introductory lecture, and we have talked about the very basic concepts of a worksheet and a workbook, and also we have started talking about the use of formulas and functions. So, in the coming lectures we will be doing in detail the different types of formula which are commonly used in Excel for financial, logical and mathematical functionalities. Till then, thank you.